much. My initial thoughts are I'm happy to be back. You know, it's just great to be fighting more frequently. I was happy to have a tough opponent in Darrick Minner. I'm really thankful for my corners, Adam Benioun, you know, Darren Wanyama, Greg Jackson. I was really lucky to have a great training camp for this one. No injuries for a change other than the broken hand last time. I'm just looking forward to fighting again soon.
Was this your first fight with Jackson in your corner?
Yes, this is the first fight that I've had with Greg. It's, you know, obviously, you know, for us a hobby, everyone at TriStar, Kenny Flynn, they're always my coaches as well, and it's everyone gets along, and we've all been working together, but it's tough sometimes. You have to, you know, I had to make a couple changes in terms of my training structure after last time, and also with COVID travel restrictions being what they are sometimes. You know, there was some difficulty there, but, you know, obviously I continue to represent the people with whom I've been training my entire career, and I'm happy to bring some new great help into the fold as well.
Did you feel any sort of difference in your performance with Greg in your corner? I know, or is it just at this point you've been doing this for so long you just need a voice in there to kind of guide you?
Oh man, Greg is a phenomenal resource and a phenomenal coach and a good friend. I feel very thankful, you know, to have his guidance and advice. And you know, obviously, you know, I feel the same way about Darren Wanyama, who's I've been training with since, I guess we met in 2007. Been training together consistently since, you know, a little later than that. And you know, I feel like they're really helping me understand, you know, the directions that I need to be adjusting and improving in MMA after the fight. The Deported fight was a tough one because, you know, I had a long layoff, I had a lot of injuries, I had 2 surgeries in that camp, and then I had some really frustrating bad luck, like directly in the fight, broken hand, bad headbutt, and, you know, some questionable decision making on my part too. But you know, at the end, after that fight, I started with going, hold on, maybe everything is wrong. Let's look back and make sure that I've been doing some really poor thinking in terms of strategy, things like that. You know, maybe assumptions that I was making about how things work, how fighting works, what I need to be doing. I don't want to start with, well, of course I'm right, and then let's just run it back. Let's start with maybe I'm wrong here, and then work our way back to what we need to change and what we don't. And you know, obviously I try to engage as many expert people as I can for that sort of thing, to check my work and check my thinking, because if I knew what to do all the time, I would do it, and obviously I don't.
What was the biggest change you found that you knew you had to make after this moment of reflection?
Well, I think you know, I definitely needed to have so it was tough because when I was away for a long time, and I also started to have you know, I had just weird like wear and tear injuries, you know, and then I was supposed to fight Dan Ige in the beginning of this year and tore my hip flexor most of the way off the bone. That was like a traumatic, like bad luck one. But I think you know, that was kind of like this. I don't know if that was maybe the brick or the block of whatever that broke the camel's back, but it was definitely I was training around a lot of things, and I think that I wasn't getting the realistic feel, you know, that I needed to have in training camp sometimes. And also when you're away from the ring for 2 years, sometimes you get into play mode, and I'm always trying to explore different ideas and different things and different tactics. Some of them I think they're a really good idea. Some of them I think they're a really good idea and they're not a really good idea. And the only way you know is when you really get in there. And that's where I think, again, making sure that training is as realistic as it needs to be. If it's too safe, it's no good. If it's too dangerous, that's tough too. But if I had to err on the side of one versus the other, you know, you have to look for realism and make sure that you're getting the feedback that you need in practice and camp. And we've been working hard to do that. And another person who's really helped me a great deal has been an absolute striking genius, a guy named Eddie Abasolo out of the Resistance in San Francisco. He's a training partner and a friend of Darren's and mine. And man, he's just made an unbelievable difference for me. So I was really thankful to have the opportunity to go into the ring and work on some new things. I wasn't super happy with some of the execution, but I was happy with the effort. Let me put it that way.
But looking at this fight specifically, I mean, even in the first round, I think Darrick was coming in with this like looping right uppercut a lot.
Yeah.
And even the broadcast would say, like, when Darrick is on the stand and he's finding some success, when he's go to the ground, he would follow you right in there, and his coaches were screaming, "Get out of there! Get out of there! Get out of there!" Were you surprised that he would continuously kind of follow you down to the canvas?
Yeah, that weird, like, where the heck angle was that? I was like, oh, bro, wait, and then yeah, I was getting whacked with that a little bit. That took a bit of an adjustment. He throws punches at interesting angles, and that's again something as a striker, as I'm working on being a lot, you know, better, like closer to people rather than just using a giant gap, you know, to keep us apart. You know, the experience level, and you know, you'll see certain things pretty good, and you'll see certain things you're like, well, definitely need more practice there, and that was one of them. But Darrick's a very confident grappler, and I wasn't surprised. to see him bet on that. I would match grappling, intentionally with anyone, in the world, honestly. But it's, Darrick has many submissions in MMA. He's a tough guy. He's a good athlete. I wasn't surprised to see him try to pursue that. And I would just say, if I were him, I might have done the same thing.
After all these injuries and this long layoffs you've had, how many fights do you want in 2022?
Man, I wanted a bunch of fights this year, and then I hurt my freaking hip, and then I broke my hand. You gotta be kidding me. But 2 is better than 0, so I'm pretty happy with that. Next year, if I could get between 4 and 5 fights, that would be phenomenal. I'm gonna keep working hard. I'm gonna be back to work. I'm going home for the holidays, see my wife, see my son, see family and friends, and then come January 1st, we're right back on it. I want to be back in the gym. I'm gonna be in the gym this week, but I want to be in training camp soon. I want to fight maybe as soon as March. I want to fight again after that. I want to fight again after that. I came here for the toughest opposition. I'm not anywhere near done. I just look forward to getting back in the ring soon against the toughest people that I can, growing with the the partners that I need to grow, making sure that I'm being challenged appropriately in training and appropriately in my ideas, so that if I'm doing something dumb, I find out outside the ring, ideally, rather than in. And I just can't wait. So I'd like to fight again soon, maybe March, April at the absolute latest.
So from here, are there any specific names you have in mind? I know in the past you've kind of looked at these specific names above you, or you just want to fight whoever as much as possible.
I think that, when I was in, I think I was as high as number 12, and then I got removed from the rankings because of the long inactivity. Granted, there were 3 fights that fell out back to back to back, and I wasn't backing out of fights. I've never turned down a fight that said, hey, this guy's a problem or something like that. In fact, I accepted a fight against Ilya Topuria, who was, very tough fighter, but not in the rankings, not someone that I had to fight by any stretch of the imagination, but someone that was important for me to fight. Where I'm like, yeah, I wanted that. Now I would have liked to do it without injuries and without some serious bad luck, but I look forward to getting that one back later on. I really would like another crack at that at some point in the future. But yeah, I want someone at the tail end of the rankings, maybe Caceres. I think he was 15 or something like that. I think that's appropriate. And I just look forward to getting back in again as soon as possible and continuing to demonstrate increasing skill and increasing sharpness that comes from being in the ring. I don't think anybody fights great with, or nearly as great as they could, with giant chunks of inactivity.
Dominic Cruz is pretty good.
Dominic Cruz is pretty dang good. I think as amazing as Dom is, and also he has a lot more MMA fights than I do. That's something interesting as well. I'm looking forward to doing ADCC, Abu Dhabi Submission Wrestling next year. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for, I guess, almost 18 years now. I haven't competed in that sport in a long time, but I do have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of matches. So, obviously I'll be doing some jiu-jitsu prior to that, if the stars align, I'm able to get myself in there. But I think it's kind of more similar in that regard. Inactivity hurts me a lot more in MMA than it does in jiu-jitsu. And obviously Dom is Dom. What works for Dom, I agree with him that ring rust isn't a real thing, but it's not as real as people make it out to be. But let's put it this way: being active never hurt anybody.
Brandon, just to say, when you first came in here, you looked like you were shaking your hand off. Is your hand good? Is that just sort of just shaking off the cobwebs, or did you feel like you maybe injured it a little bit?
No, thank goodness it's fine. I actually have a big old screw in there now. I tried to get them to put it in all the other metacarpals, and they wouldn't do it, which I was kind of disappointed about. One of the kind of broke off-brand Wolverine.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, but they weren't having it. Anyway, no, everything's fine. Yeah, I think I blocked a kick or two, elbowed him a couple times, so things are a little sore, but nothing to complain about. I have no injuries. I'm going to be right back to training and look forward to getting back in. And also, it's nice. I'd have to say huge thanks to Inova Hospital and Exos back home, the guys and girls there that have helped me kind of fix all the injuries and whatnot that I've had over time, because I can't even tell you how much better I feel physically than, let's say, 2-3 years ago. It's certainly better than this time last year. I honestly was going like, man, I don't know how much longer I have left, just because you get up in the morning and touching your toes is a bit of an issue, and I was supposed to be the guy that could put his leg behind his head without warming up, so that was disquieting. And anyway, it's gotten a lot better, so no injuries, thank you.
And last thing for me, I know it looked like, I want to say it was maybe the second round. I know that there was some talk that his team was like, why are you going to the ground? Why are you doing anything? it looked like he maybe hurt you a little bit, or maybe rocked you a little bit. Was there any point in the second round where you did get a little bit dazed?
No, I don't think so. You know, he landed a decent punch or two in the first round. If I recall, yeah, I want to say the first round. Nothing to write home about, and I don't feel like I was ever hurt. The hardest I've ever been hit in a fight was the headbutt against Decoria. When I broke my hand, I didn't even know it happened in the fight, actually. I thought it was a punch. I thought it was the world's hardest slap hook. And I was like, holy crap, this dude hits hard. It turns out it's, yeah, when you headbutt someone, or when I try to crack you from like me to you, which is not always the greatest idea, and then I immediately break my hand on your dome and then smoke my face into it, and then bounce backwards and then get punched. I was like, ah! That was that was the hardest shot I've ever been hit with, and I remember at the time just being like, yikes. All right, keep going. But this was nothing like that. Darrick landed a shot or two, but no, I felt composed, I felt good, and I feel all right.
Congrats on the victory.
Thank you.
We mentioned that earlier. James Krause, Darrick's head coach, was shouting for him to stand up when he's taking it to the ground. Did you hear that?
Yeah, a little bit. I heard. I could definitely hear James. James, obviously, a good corner and a vocal corner, as all good corners are. At least when it's important to be. And yeah, he was saying to get away from him. I was doing my best to make that difficult. But you know, sometimes I will say, you know, it's you know, you take a guy like Darrick, and he has so much success on the ground. Sometimes you'll pursue it. You know, I do my best in my corners. If I hear my corners, I'm not gonna ignore them. Or if I don't do what they say, it would be because and I heard them, it would have to be because some crazy exigent thing that only I can feel. But for the most part, and there has to be that trust there, I think. But you know, I'm not surprised. Sometimes people are very, very comfortable in a certain arena and they try to pursue it a little bit. You know, I just did my best to make sure that I could follow the fight wherever it went.
I feel like in many ways, in modern MMA, the bottom game is kind of a lost art. You were dominating at the bottom of that second round. Why were you able to make that so effective?
You know, I've worked hard over the years to understand, you know, what allows jiu-jitsu to work, and certainly what allows jiu-jitsu to work in MMA. I think I got to show a little bit more of that in this fight because Darrick was willing to engage me. And that's the thing about the bottom game is, you know, you only really use your guard when, you know, as a weapon when people try to come beat you up. You can shake it at people like a stick and they may back away, which is usually what's happened in the past. But Darrick is actually the first opponent I've ever had in a mixed martial arts fight to pursue on the ground from the top position. And you know, he did his best to kind of, you know, not move and transition too much, and he did a good job of finding his way out of some sticky spots. But you know, I feel like I was able to land effective shots, was able to sweep, was able to score, was able to threaten submissions, and you know, it's just something that I've worked on a great deal. You know, I mean, people can be forgiven, you know, for thinking, wondering, I guess, like, hey, maybe it's all. I was like, hey, maybe it's all smoke and mirrors. Maybe I fall over, and all you got to do is just run over and punch me in the face. I try to make it a little bit more difficult than that, but I've been lucky to you know, to have great partners. I got my friend Adam Benioun, one of our black belts in the back. I've been training with some of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world for a very, very long time. You know, getting beat up by them, learning, training with the guys at TriStar, training with Greg's, training with Darren, training with the guys at the Resistance, training all over the place, and I bring people to Virginia to help me learn as much as possible. And a large focus of that over time has been, you know, how jiu-jitsu works when there are punches, when there are elbows, when people are trying to hurt you. And you know, I would just enjoy exchanging ground strikes, ground anything with anybody going forward. But obviously, as you can see, my striking needs to continue to improve.
Last one for me. I mean, this is the 2021 fought twice. It was the first year in 7 years where you were able to get more than one fight. Just even that alone, getting the second one, did you notice like a difference just even that?
Oh yeah, man, I can't even tell you. I got to be honest, it was great to be there. I loved being in the fight. It was a little bit, you know, it was a little sloppier than I would have liked, if I'm honest, you know, but at the same time, it was just great to be back. It felt calm, it felt like home. You know, you're back in T-Mobile, reminding me, like, oh, I've been here, did the same thing at the hotel. You know, I feel like my preparation for this bout was significantly improved from the past, from really all my past bouts, which is great. It should be going in a good direction, and it should be, you know, moving in a positive, you know, trend. But I guess I would say, yeah, you feel more at home. It feels more normal. You know, and I think I try to be a pretty cool, collected, you know, customer as best as I can, period. But I would just say there's nothing like feeling like you're doing something you've done before. And it's nice walking into the ring. I feel like my heart rate's about 60. I'm like, oh, this is comfortable. You know, I like this. You're aware of danger. You know, danger's a real thing, and this person's going to try to hurt you. But, you know, like, fear is kind of something that you can either indulge or not. Danger's very real. Like, the fire will burn you. But I would just say, yeah, it felt great to do it again, and I look forward to getting back as soon as possible. I need more activity, and I just can't wait.
congrats.
Thank you so much.
Right, Ryan, here in the back. So you mentioned all the fallout from the Topuria fight, you know, the injury and also how activity is so important for you. Considering all the bad luck that you had during that fight, do you have any regrets in taking it? Because as you said, unranked opponent, very dangerous, not a big name, and it set you back in terms of activity.
I have no regrets whatsoever. You know, if that hadn't happened, I hate losing. I hate losing with a fiery passion. I don't take it well. But at the same time, that spurred on a lot of positive change. It made me reevaluate certain things. It would absolutely was you know, a frustrating experience because of the circumstances surrounding it, and also, you know, I mean, from a variety of different directions. But I would say no, I'm very thankful for that, and I know it's a little bit cliche to go, oh, everything that happens is you know, for the best, because that's not always true. But I'm more motivated than ever. I feel very, very thankful to have around me the people that I do. I've made changes in my training. I've made improvements in my training. I've made improvements in my thinking. I'm being challenged in the room more. I'm being challenged in my thought more. I feel very, very fortunate for that. And you know, I look forward to just carrying that momentum forward. And I'm here to fight the best. I'm not afraid to win. I'm not afraid to lose. I don't like losing, but I'm not afraid of it. And you know, I just look forward to competing again and again and again. And I'm not going to stop until we take this as far as we can go.
And in modern MMA, most fighters are pretty well-rounded. You very rarely see somebody who is as much of a specialist as you are. Is that something you take pride in being sort of a modern-day specialist when there are so few, or do you perhaps look forward to rounding out your game a little bit more in the future?
Well, I guess, honestly, you know, I think I am actually very well-rounded. I'm just so good at jiu-jitsu that I make that the focus of the fight. I can wrestle better than the average, you know, collegiate wrestler. You don't see it a lot in the fights because I can do other things. But you know, I can strike. These are things that, you know, I guess it's an interesting thing when, you know, having like a particularly strong weapon, because you try to figure out how to factor it into your strategy. Because even if I have something else that's pretty good, you know, by comparison, where I'm like, oh, it's better than many people, but it's not elite. Like I'm certainly no Yo Romero or something like that. Not even obviously, but it makes you almost want to use it a little bit less, I think. And that's a tricky thing that I think that I've struggled with, and I'm doing my best to figure out, you know, how to best approach going forward, and definitely continuing to round out, because obviously, as you guys can see, you know, there are issues and there are things that need to be improved and will continue to be improved. But what I'm finding is that, you know, obviously skill and technique and tactics improvements in the gym are making their way into the fights little by little. But it's a lot of it comes down to, I feel like, comfort, and I have a trust and an experience level in my jiu-jitsu that I know that I can beat literally anyone in the world, and that's a tricky, interesting thing, because that's not true with my wrestling. I can beat most people, many people, let's say. I can striking like some people. So it's definitely something that I'm working with, and something that I think you know, my coaches and training partners and friends are providing guidance with, and I look forward to rounding out. But you know, you do take some pride in obviously working hard, and you know, one of my favorite fighters is Damian Maia. But you know, his striking, you know, is something that he did round out, and his wrestling is obviously phenomenal. It's unbelievably effective. You know, he's just one of the most effective wrestlers, I think, in the history of the UFC, I think we could say. And obviously he married it to brilliant jiu-jitsu. So if I could ever achieve something like that in terms of skill and ability, to say nothing of success, I would be very happy. And you know, you guys have my word that I'll be continuing to work hard to improve.
Thank you.
I got one for you, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
With it being the first camp, working with Greg, what was that experience like?
Oh man, I feel incredibly fortunate. You know, I get to have the opportunity to work with one of the, you know, the most brilliant and most successful, you know, coaches in the history of mixed martial arts. Someone who's, you know, helped create the game that we see today. Guided many people, you know, guys and girls to a very, very high level of success in the sport. I feel very, very fortunate. You know, Greg is someone who's made a fantastic difference for me, and I look forward to working with him going forward. I'm also thankful very much, you know, for Faraz Zahabi, Kenny Florian, who helped me to get to this point and continue to help. Darren Waniyama as well has been an unbelievable resource. I actually started MMA with Darren in 2012 when he was fighting in the UFC. I was like, you know, his sidekick, you know, kicking around and trying to stay out of the way and learn something and be a little bit helpful from a jiu-jitsu perspective, and he's offered amazing guidance as well. I just feel really, really fortunate to have all of the people around me, and you know, without them, this wouldn't work at all.
And one last question on tonight's fight. Were you surprised with how James Krause is telling his pupil to get off the ground? Like, Darrick was so willing to engage with you there?
You know, a little bit surprised. I don't think it's as easy to get up as people might think once you get a hold of somebody. But you know, perhaps he could have made more of an effort in that regard. But again, you know, Darrick has, what is he, 26 wins, 20 some odd, 24 something submissions. I mean, that's a lot of submissions, man. And MMA isn't sport jiu-jitsu, so it's I don't blame him for having confidence. And it's just like you know, every now and then I'm going to bet on my jiu-jitsu. I'm going to, you know, you dance with the girl you brought. You know, they got you there, and it's I can understand where he's coming from, and of course he's dangerous at any point in the fight. He's got a great guillotine, particularly on his left side. You know, he's got other threats as well. He's been very successful, so you know, when the lights are on and it's serious, I don't blame people.